What's going on, fellas? This is Abdel back on Del Tells. Thank you guys for listening. This past couple days, man, we've seen some really interesting conversations happen on some podcasts, and the one I'm talking about in this moment was Kamala Harris on Club Shay Shay. And I gotta say, I was actually shocked that we were able to learn a little bit more about Kamala Harris, so I wanted to talk about this. You know, Kamala has been seen as having this ability to give a lot of word salad. She'll say a lot of words that don't really mean anything. They don't really line up with anything. No one really knows what she's talking about. Some of these situations have happened even on Oprah, where Oprah just kind of looks at her and has to change the story because she doesn't even know how to respond to it. And sometimes I really wish we got to see who she was when the cameras were gone. We just want to see her be herself. She's not following a script. She doesn't know the questions that are coming up, because I bet she's a completely different person when the cameras are gone and she doesn't have to be professional or political in this kind of case. And I think this is one of the biggest problems for a lot of voters out there right now. It's not that necessarily they don't want to vote for her. They don't know her. And that's a really big deal. And I'm starting to realize that a lot of people, they cannot relate to her professional background as far as being a lawyer, an attorney general, and now vice president. If we're being honest, most people in America don't even know what the vice president does. A lot of people actually think the vice president has the same power as the president, which is just not the case. So you see a lot of things, a lot of rhetoric going back and forth where Trump is saying, well, what did Kamala do in the time? Because she had 4 years and she didn't do much. Well, simply because Kamala cannot do the same thing that Biden can do. That's not her job. Matter of fact, if we have that same Pence, then what did Mike Pence do in the 4 years? Or quite a lot of other vice presidents. It's just not the same job. And I think a lot of people really don't know what the vice president is there to do. But, even Joe Rogan was mentioning on his podcast this past Saturday during the UFC event that he just wants to talk to her, just to have an honest conversation with her that is not an interview. And that is exactly, I think, what everyone wants to see. And I think Club Shay Shay knocked it out of the park. I just have to be honest. I really think they did. We are finally seeing the human side of Kamala in this conversation. She's talking about how when she wakes up in the morning, even she gets a workout in every day. She has to work 15 hours a day, which once again, many people can relate to that. A lot of people work really hard jobs and they're working 12, 15 hours a day and they are exhausted and still have to get up the next day and just do it, and we're not talking about being a vice president while running for president in this situation, but we see her laughing at jokes. We see her not trying to put too many complicated word salads together to try to make a point. We see her in a different light in this podcast. We see her just being herself, and that's not something that we get to see a lot in these campaigns. And that's a big deal. I think this was a great showing for her. A lot of people across the country, millions of people will see this podcast. I think she definitely needs to go to Joe Rogan, and she'll have a much bigger outreach to more people that, will watch it. It just is what it is. I mean, Donald Trump's video did 34 million views over the first couple days that it was out. I'm pretty sure that number is much higher now. And she's, now sending the message with people to go out there and to vote. She doesn't want to see what happened to Hillary in 2016 happen again, where people think it's just a landslide. Oh man, she's going to win. So what's the point of going out to vote? Well, we've seen what happened in 2016, and she's sending that message out there that it's actually really important to go out. Even some of her older memories that she brings up on Club Shay Shay, when he asked her, like, what are some of her fondest memories when she was young? And, she starts talking about Stevie Wonder singing her happy birthday, and I'm going to show you guys that video, actually, because I think it's very interesting.
But
you don't have downtime? Like when you have downtime?
I don't have any downtime, really. I know my little violin I'm playing right now with you. I really don't. But when I love jazz. Mm-hmm. If it's from Thelonious Monk to Miles Davis. Mm-hmm. I love Aretha. I was just with Stevie.
Right.
Stevie's, can I tell you?
Yes, you can.
Bucket list. Stevie Wonder on my birthday sang me happy birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Oh my.
Can you imagine?
No.
I was literally, it was surreal. A bucket list moment
Right.
when Stevie Wonder himself sings you happy birthday?
As an 18-year-old,
Yeah.
could you imagine
Never.
your life would have been like this
Never.
this many years
Never.
later?
And let me tell you, my mother she had every Stevie and every Aretha Franklin record, every album, like literally every one of them. So Songs in the Key of Life, like all those Stevie songs that were about everything from the movement to optimism. I would have never, at 18, thought that he'd be singing me happy birthday. Ever. Never.
That's the least, but obviously everybody knows who Steve is.
It is very clear that her mother is definitely a big central point of her life, and we love to see that. It's a beautiful thing to see. She even pledged to Alpha Kappa Alpha at Howard University just because her mother pledged the same sorority. She was asked why, she would be a better choice for the economy than Trump, and she definitely makes some points here and has some talking points of how she kind of diverted a little bit, because she went and talked about how the stimulus checks were actually passed by the Democrats. Donald Trump was completely against it, but once it passed Congress, Donald Trump put his name all over these stimulus checks as if the Republicans should be taking credit for what the Democrats actually passed, because people simply needed the financial help across the country. So a lot of people actually thought the stimulus checks came from Trump, and this is something that we hear quite a lot when that never happened. And this is just another example that she used to say why she may be better for the economy, because she's for the people and not necessarily for the rich. She also was actually able to just have a real conversation on the show. And I know I'm saying this a lot, but we've seen the sides of her that are serious and political, but at the same time, when she was able to just let loose and just be herself and just relax in the moment, I think we've seen someone who is extremely relatable throughout the country. And I think a lot of people may see someone that they may want to vote for. I've heard from a lot of people that they don't know who they want to vote for. They've seen 4 years of Trump and they don't know if they want to see it again. Some people want to see it again. And other people are like, we just don't know her. And I don't blame them, because that is actually the issue with Kamala. We just don't know her. Actually, the same thing goes for Tim Walz, her running mate. We just don't know them. But now I think with her doing this podcast, and I hope she goes on Joe Rogan Experience, because I think that will give her a much bigger outreach to people who may be on the fence and maybe don't know which way they want to vote. And seeing her human side may actually help them make this decision a lot easier. And so I definitely hope she takes advantage of that opportunity, because if that's one thing that can help her in this, so be it. Let it be what it is. Thank you very much for your time today, guys. Definitely like and subscribe, and we will have much more coming for you. Have a good one.